Welcome to American Medicine Today. I'm Kimberly Bonati alongside Ethan Youker and world-renowned orthopedic surgeon, Dr. Alfred Bonati. We have a lot of exciting stuff lined up. Let's get right to it. So a new book delves into the hidden dangers of MSG and reveals how this additive, mostly prevalent in processed foods, is linked to a plethora of conditions, including obesity, autism, and even cancer. So joining us to discuss is Reid, biochemist, founder of Unblind My Mind, Inc., and co-author of Fat, Stressed, and Sick, MSG, Processed Foods, and America's Health Crisis. Thank you for joining us on the program, Katie.
Thank you for having me.
First off, can you explain what MSG is and why it's so unhealthy?
Yeah, so MSG stands for monosodium glutamate, and it's a common amino acid, which is the building blocks of proteins. And the way that the food processing is processing some of these proteins, it's intentionally and maybe as a byproduct, creating a lot of this free glutamate, or monosodium glutamate is the most common one in food. And it's causing all sorts of health issues because it activates our nervous system and really just causes a lot of metabolic imbalances with people's bodies.
I didn't realize that. Maybe I was a little naive. I always thought MSG was just something that was in Chinese food.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah. I remember as a kid growing up, they would say, you want MSG or no MSG? And, you didn't really know what it was. It just, to me, it seemed like if you had MSG in it, it was extra salty.
Exactly. Yeah. No, well, a lot of people will associate it with Chinese food. And that's really the purpose of me writing the book, is raising awareness that the modern diet, the American diet, the biggest source is processed protein. It's the ultra processed food that contain proteins that are creating a lot of MSG or free glutamate from the processing. That's 90% of the people's intake is coming from processed proteins. I'm trying to raise awareness that it's not labeled on the food packages, and the consumer does not know at all what the manufacturing processes are on the label. So it took a lot of Google patent diving, into these food processes for me to realize how much glutamate was being generated from the process.
Well, people that have children with autism, they struggle their entire lives trying to get to the root cause and how to help their children. So if this was something that was adequately labeled, we probably wouldn't be having cases like this so prevalent.
Exactly. That's part of my awareness too, is to empower people, not just in the autism world. The glutamate is a neurotransmitter. So we make glutamate in our body when we need it, how much we need it, wherever we need it, to help with the neurological signaling that makes that up. So in neurodivergent, which is often part of the autism class, and there's other conditions that would, potentially be under this neurodivergent class, you have excessive excitatory or glutamate signaling already going on. So you imagine adding that from the food, that could potentially exacerbate a lot of these conditions. And so raising awareness of how to better potentially manage where somebody is very prone to this excessive glutamate signaling that's already in excess in their body. With gluten, I discovered that they actually used to make MSG by hydrolyzing or degrading gluten because it's such a huge source of MSG. That's how they used to make MSG. So clearly the food manufacturers know that the processing of proteins is generating or the glutamate as a byproduct. And why is that so important for food manufacturers? It's addicting. It makes the food taste wonderful if glutamate is added to it.
It almost reminds me of along the similar lines, different things, of course, ends of the spectrum, but sugar, they say that people who eat a lot of sugar, it does something to your taste buds.
Exactly. And so glucose and, the glutamate are very similar in terms of they have the taste receptors on our tongues and such. And the modern ultra-processed foods are just absolutely hijacking the taste receptors on the glucose and the glutamate, over stimulating those taste receptors to the detriment of sour and bitter and other kind of taste receptors. So it literally is hijacking our taste receptors to then want more and more and more of the glutamate glucose.
Oftentimes found specifically in processed meats. Now, is that like deli meats, beef jerky, things like that? And also, your book talks about surprising foods that have hidden MSG. Can you sort of list some of those for us?
Yeah, so processed proteins, so meat would be in that category of having a high protein, salami, these deli meats, cured meats, things that are, but you can also have like a vegan patty that's made out of fake meat that's considered, proteins with these hydrolyzed soy proteins or all these whey, proteins or something that's trying to be a meat substitute can contain a lot of MSG and it contains no animal protein. So it's really proteins I'm bringing people's awareness to, not just meat protein.
So can you tell us more about your journey of discovery and how that led to the research and you writing this book?
Yeah. So, my daughter was diagnosed on the spectrum when she was about 3.25 age old. And I really, as a biochemist and a mother, just really trying to find ways to support her development. So really what was in my control was the food. And at the time, she was eating terrible food. It was all white processed foods and she threw a fit. So I started to change her diet. And one of the things I noticed was gluten and casein were common proteins removed from these diets tried on the autism kind of community. So I decided to try. So gluten and casein are a class of proteins found in wheat and dairy, respectively. And when I started to kind of think about why these proteins, but I did start to see a little bit of improvement in her. But I'm like, okay, but there's all these other proteins. What about these proteins? Is there something that she's not maybe metabolically, able to metabolize proteins properly? Is there something going on? So I just started to, explore. I'm a protein chemist. So I just was like, okay, I'm looking into this. And the class of protein, gluten and casein, have 25% of their protein comprised of glutamate, glutamic acid.
Well, good to know. And thank you for spotlighting it for us. Thank you so much, Katie Reid, for being on the program.
Thank you so much for having me on your program.
Take great care.
Of course. Thanks, Katie.
Make sure you stay tuned. We'll have more after the break. You are watching American Medicine Today.
The loss of coordination in my legs, I'd trip over my feet, end up flat in the concrete. Dr. Bonati to me was God sent. Walk like that no longer. I don't remember how long. I didn't have to make a massive lifestyle change. I noticed today that I could sit and stand up without a cane. I would have to give it excellent and above my expectations.
Visit AskBonati.com. Despite being told repeatedly by doctors in his home state that nothing can be done for him, Spencer is living proof that Bonati succeeds where others fail.
I cried like a baby because of the pain relief I was out of when everybody else was telling me I was going to be eating pain pills all my life. I don't want to do that. I want to enjoy life. I want to be back on the water. I want to be hunting. I want to spend time with my wife. And Dr. Bonati delivered, hands down. And I mean it, because I would not be here today having this conversation because I had planned my exit. And that is not easy for me to say, but it was planned. And I got my life back. I'm from Gulf Shores, Alabama. I've been there for about 35 years. I've worked in everything from the restaurant business, jewelry business, gunsmithing, and now roofing. I was on a hunting trip and fell out of a ladder stand. The pain that was coming from this low back was shooting down my legs. It got into my feet to where my feet were beginning to curl and cup and have spasms constantly, and I couldn't walk. The pain just radiated through my body, and I couldn't get it to go away. People were thinking I was having autoimmune disease and fibromyalgia, and I got every kind of crazy thing that wasn't. When I started having all the back trouble, I tried things conservatively first. Chiropractor was my first choice. Get x-rays and do all that. With his advice, I started doing massage therapy, physical therapy with traction and some other processes, biofreeze, rub downs. We did epidurals, nerve blocks. We did nerve ablations. The longest I got out of any of them was 3 days. And the pain pills they were giving me wasn't touching it. So the only relief that I ever got was by coming to Bonati. And after I had done my research, I was like, I think this is where I want to be. Dr. Bonati himself called me back. He told me exactly where I was hurting from what he had seen on my MRIs and what that feeling was like. And he explained my foot pain that the doctors were telling me was diabetes. So I became very interested in getting myself down here as quick as I could. Went over the MRIs again, decided to do some more fine-tuned, more precision MRIs so Doc can see what he wants to see. And they spent about an hour and a half with me explaining exactly what was wrong, where the pain was coming from, what was causing the pain, and how he planned on fixing it. But I was so confident in what Dr. Bonati had told me, I was there. We lined up a game plan, and surgery was the next morning. You have a regular surgery, they put you on an anesthesia and knock you out. When you come to, things ain't so pretty. And you're in severe pain, and you don't know if you have done good or bad. The big thing that I think makes a difference about being semi-conscious during these surgeries, it's more about the back and forth. Hey Spencer, is this feeling better? And you feel the pain go away on the table, and it gets better every day. As soon as I came out of surgery and I was in recovery, I could move my toes and my feet. And I asked my wife, I said, will you tickle my feet? And I felt it. And in recovery, I broke down and started crying because I figured I'd never feel my feet again. Next day, got loaded up in the car and went back home to Alabama. Every day, my pain got less and less and less, and I got more movement and more strength, and it was obvious. And it has been emotional for me ever since. I love everybody in this office. For those that are in pain and that are struggling, follow up now. Get your answers now. I've never had doctors and nurses call on me week after week. Hey, Spencer, how are you doing? Tell me how you're feeling. Is there any pain here or there? You don't get that. Here, you get that. I love them.
To see more stories of recovery just like this, search for the Bonati Spine Institute on YouTube, Rumble, Apple's App Store, Google's Play Store, Roku, and Amazon's Fire TV. Welcome back to American Medicine Today. I'm Kimberly Bonati alongside Dr. Bonati. And the topic for today is Scientists Reveal Cancer's Atomic Secrets. What does that really mean, Dr. Bonati?
It's an idea that came just only because geologists are using tools that they can allow to the individual to identify what happened millions of years before in certain areas. But it's very good to understand that, but why something like that cannot be used in the study of how the cancer can be affected, what happened with the body, and see if we can understand with the same tools what really happened to the body when you don't have cancer and when you do have cancer.
Right.
Well, to do that studies in both, the geologists use the isotopes. There are two types of isotopes. One isotope is the hydrogen. And the hydrogen is the most abundant type of isotope. But there's another isotope that is a deuterium that is also a hydrogen. But the problem with this hydrogen is a little heavier. But when you look at those two products in geology, they give to you some type of information between the amount of one isotope in comparison to the other isotope. Okay. And they measure that. So they tried to do the same thing on the body. And what they did is they took some cells from the kidney or from the liver of rats. And then they put the normal cells in a normal body of that rat that was healthy. And then the ratio of the hydrogen to the deuterium was the one that they consider normal. Right. But when they look at the cells that they had cancer, they found that the cells with cancer, they reproduce very fast. If we can create a test that can be done in just measuring blood and use the hydrogen and the deuterium in the cells of the blood, then we may be able to distinguish when those cells are reproducing very fast or when those cells are very normal reproduction level, speed. If that happens when it's very fast, then they suspect that they are looking something like it's cancer.
We'll be back after this break, continuing the discussion on revealing cancer's atomic secrets. You are watching American Medicine Today.
I think everybody was shocked, like, really, you had surgery today? I had a drain tube. I was at my desk doing payroll for 200 employees, worked till night, got up, went to bed.
Actually, the recovery was great. I mean, I really immediately felt the difference. I was able to go back to work within a couple of days.
The progress after each procedure was amazingly good. The recovery, all told, has been phenomenal.
The recovery was pretty easy. I was able to walk around after surgery with no problem.
And when I got up off that table, it was like, like a reborn again when I was able to walk off that table and walk out and go for lunch. I went in there at 10 o'clock, got operated on. At 12 o'clock, I was walking out on my own.
We went to the Bonati Institute, and that was the day, the turning point in my life. This type of surgery is so much more advanced, and the recovery time is so much less that it's just a no-brainer. If you've got pain, go to Bonati.
This is the honest to God truth. And was recovering, I didn't feel anything. The pain that I was suffering is gone. I can go back to work in like 3 days.
The surgeries that I had, actually, I recovered very easily from, I would say. I actually went to work the following afternoon.
That afternoon, when it was done, I actually felt so much better already.
6 days after surgery, I was back in the gym, slowly but surely working my way back to fighting, back to basically 100% of fighting. 6 days, and everybody was in awe, like, didn't you just get out of surgery? I'm like, yeah, I feel great. Let's see how you do. And I was bowling with everybody, and I'm in the advanced class. So that sounds a lot right there.
First time I came in here was Monday, and today is Thursday. I've had 2 surgeries and am doing fantastic. I'm still in shock that I can walk. That's all within 4 days.
Bonati succeeds where others fail. Welcome back to American Medicine Today. We're continuing the discussion on revealing cancer's atomic secrets. They also have something called the Sage Onco test. That's the one where not only can they detect what's happening within the body, but they are also able to come up with the correct plan of action to cure the cancer.
We already have the same type of a look, but in another type of a system. We know very well that they are a test already that is being used to understand an early appearance of cancer.
You're talking about things like Gallery test.
Yeah, when the Gallery test was created because it's a DNA type of a test. So the cancer cell dies by aging or by whatever, then eliminate their own DNA. And that DNA is on the blood.
Right.
So they obtain the blood of the patient, they look at that DNA, and they understand that that DNA now not only will have the information that is cancer on it, but at the same time, they will tell you from where the cancer is coming. Right. So if it's a kidney cell that is fast reproducing and is cancer, now we know exactly that we need to look at the kidney.
Correct.
This other idea is probably interesting. But I really think the Gallery test looks to me more accurate and is already on the market. And I think it's a fantastic test to try to diagnose the people earlier. And that the physician should send all the people, at least advise all the people, to do a checkup one time every 2 years or so, to be sure that the body is not creating abnormal DNAs using the Gallery test. The type of advance that they were talking about when they say an atomic type of information that comes from the cell and allows us to practically interfere in the evolution of the cancer by now looking at the deuterium and the hydrogen levels and measuring those. But they will not tell you if that's coming from which cell or from what part of the body.
But you certainly need to be able to detect these things sooner than later.
Well, if you do sooner, and that is the idea in both tests, is because we know that we can cure cancer.
Correct.
But we need to cure cancer when the cancer is very early and it's not enough divisions or metastases. So that is why I think this idea is great. The only problem is I think right now we have one test that to me is more effective and more direct to really not only to know that the person is sick, but at the same time will be able to be diagnosed from where the cancer is coming from.
We will certainly keep a watchful eye out for that and continue to cover it in upcoming episodes of American Medicine Today. Well, thank you for watching American Medicine Today, and make sure you check us out anytime on your favorite streaming apps, keyword AMT. If you have any comments or questions, contact us at the numbers below, or you can tweet at Dr. Bonati using the hashtag American Medicine Today or hashtag AMT. We would like to hear from you.